You're listening to Beast Over Burden, powered by Barbell Logic.
We're Niki and Andrew, your personal professional coaches.
We help you take control of your fitness through hard but doable training and nutrition practices that fit your busy life.
Build a stronger, healthier version of yourself with lifelong habits. Hey, oh my gosh. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Beast Over Burden, powered by Barbell Logic. I'm your host, Niki Sims. With me is Andrew Jackson.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, man, we wrapped up our series and we have a little tack on here at the end where we're going to do some Q&A, kind of case studies about what we've been talking about. So pretty excited because these, in fact, are questions we get from real life clients, real life situations. In fact, I have a big, juicy one to start us off with.
Okay.
All right. So this question came in from Ben. Ben, I can tell, really likes to train. He really likes to work out. So he's been resistance training 3 to 4 times a week. Seems like he dials that up or down based on life circumstances. He's in his 40s, got some toddlers. And he has added on other activities, including 5 to 6 sessions a week of HIIT and slow, steady zone 2. Yeah. So he will train in the morning and then he will do some cardio or / conditioning later in the day. But he looks like he's doing activity almost 7 days a week. He likes the progress that he's getting. He's been able to tell that he's been getting stronger by being able to do more reps, being able to do more weight. He also takes measurements that reflect that. But his question came from your phrase where something is better than nothing.
Some things are better than other things and nothing works forever.
Yes. So I think what he was really wondering is, how long can I keep doing this? And is this activity that I've been told I should be doing outside the gym for longevity and for weight loss, is that hindering my muscle growth? Because the phrase zone 2 cardio got really popular. Thank you, Peter Attia. And now everybody thinks that they need to be doing zone 2. But we've also heard how important high intensity interval training is. So it sounds like he's trying to do all the things. And he's wondering if he's doing all the things correctly or how important the conditioning is on top of his resistance training.
How would you answer that?
Well, first off, I don't think he's actually doing high intensity interval training. I just want to clarify this because when we asked a clarifying question about his conditioning schedule, he said he's doing 30 to 60 minutes of high intensity interval training. And I think you can work out zone 3 and above for that duration, but a true high intensity interval, you're going to max out for 15 to 30 seconds. And in order to maintain the kind of intensity that is needed for HIIT to be effective, you need to get pretty close to full recovery before you do your next bout of the high intensity. And you can't do that for 30 to 60 minutes. You're just not actually training at true high intensity anymore, even though it's really hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's some people call a spin class a HIIT class, but it's not really a HIIT class. There might be some HIIT sections embedded in the class, but the 30 to 60 minutes it's kind of like medium intensity.
Yeah. Even though you're tired,
yeah,
that makes it really intense. It's still not the true high intensity interval training, which you will do 2 to 5 bouts of like 15 to 30 seconds. And then you might recover up to 2 minutes where you're not actually doing anything. You're just like kind of walking around, letting your heart rate come down, catching your breath, and then you're doing it again.
Okay. So you think maybe there's some confusion in the terms?
Yeah. I think it would be good to clarify that because when you're working that hard for 30 to 60 minutes, I believe that can really hinder your recovery from your lifting at that type of frequency. I'm getting a little into the weeds here, but strength training is effective when you really pay attention to recovery and when you fuel it. That is hindered by not eating enough and by not letting yourself recover. I think I just said the same thing 2 different ways. when you do a lot outside the gym where your muscles need time off from contracting, but you're not doing that, you're actually making them contract a whole lot more. You're actually not recovering, even though the mode is completely different. So I have found that that can feel really good and okay for a while, and you kind of adapt to it, but you're not able to progress your training as it needs over a long amount of time when you become intermediate and advanced, because the work that it takes to progress at that level isn't just a per session dose of work or a weekly dose of work. It's like months of doses. And that can be negatively impacted by overtraining when you're outside the gym or not recovering when you're outside the gym. So my thought is it's very likely that he can dial back on the conditioning that he's doing while still getting what he needs to from walking, doing some high intensity interval training. And he might actually feel better in the gym and still be getting what his body needs for conditioning. Okay, now you go ahead and take your turn and make it sound way better and a lot more condensed.
I would agree. I hear from his description that sounds like he's embodying physical freedom. In my opinion, I don't see the problem. He's lifting and making progress measurably in terms of weight, reps, lean body mass. I think was also he had measurements showing that
he said he weighs 220, but kind of wants to weigh less than that.
So like we talked about in the nutrition series, that's going to be mostly driven by your number of calories that you're getting. That's going to be difficult to make strength gains while you're in a calorie deficit. But I would say my general response is if it's not broke, don't fix it. Eventually, yes, something's going to give, and you have to go, I think, back to our first episode. What do you want?
Yeah.
What do you want?
What do you want?
That scene from The Notebook.
I was going to ask you, what do you think will be the first thing to break?
I think you will probably run into missed weights on press or squat. I don't know. One of the lifts, you'll start missing reps, or you won't be able to add weight, and you'll generally feel probably beat up at some point. You're just, like you said, you're not able to recover. So I think you'll start to feel run down and like you're just not able to come back into the workout with your normal energy and intensity. And you might also feel it. The only reason I say I think you would see it there is that I think you could feel that in your conditioning work as well.
Absolutely.
It's just that unless you're tracking that objectively, it's harder to notice. Like you might feel like you're tired, but you will objectively notice that you're missing reps or maybe even weight that you thought was easy or used to be kind of an easy weight is now a hard weight. Those are kind of symptoms I think you'd eventually run into that are signs that you're not recovering.
Yeah.
And I think at that point, it's, again, like we talked about, prioritizing what you want, and then aligning your training to support what you want. So if he's trying to optimize or be optimal, which is what a lot of social media content is geared towards, is what optimize this, optimize that.
Yeah.
I think we talked about that also in how to set up your programming. I do think ideally for general overall health that somewhere between 2 to 4 resistance training sessions a week, somewhere around an hour to an hour and a half of low intensity and some HIIT work. Definitely not 30 to 60 minutes of HIIT. I think you only need a couple of 10-minute sessions or whatever, 5 to 10-minute sessions a week to really kind of hit that gear of cardiovascular stimulus and training.
Yeah.
So I would say from his description, he's doing more conditioning work than needed to be optimal. But if he's enjoying it, I mean, I think it sounded like some of those are just things that he likes to do.
Yeah, he totally loves it.
Is it impacting your strength progress? At some point it will, but it sounds like it's not. So I wouldn't worry about
Keep having fun.
Exactly. Keep having fun until it's not, and then adjust. And if doing the conditioning stuff is more fun for you, then maybe you got to pull back on the intensity of your strength training. I don't think that being as strong as possible as measured by the lifts is the best thing for everybody or the most fun. At some point, I think training in a way that supports what you want to do is better for more people, and they'll also train longer.
Yeah.
I do think training in the sense of resistance training in particular is something that is best done indefinitely, and figuring out a way to fit that in your life indefinitely is a high priority. I would consider that a more optimal way of training than having no resistance training. But the degree to which you want to push it or how much strength you want to be able to demonstrate as measured by weight on the bar is a personal choice you got to make, and the trade-offs you got to take. So a little bit tricky to answer that question directly, but it's a sort of a yes and question. Yes, it's probably limiting your strength, and that's also okay.
Yeah.
You also touched on it, though, that as they advance and more of the strength progress is going to be dependent on building muscle, there may come a point where you're limiting your ability to build muscle because you're not giving your body a chance to recover enough. And so you're probably limiting your progress in that regard, or you will at some point. And that's why you'd start to just not see progress. Just weights would just sort of like start to level out.
Yeah. And then getting over 40, or changes in testosterone might become more evident every year. So, I have some lifters who I started working with when they were in their late 30s. Now they're in their mid 40s. And it's just like the circumstances really are different now. There could be something going on hormonally that we don't fully know. We could know more about, but that becomes an impact to energy and muscle growth potential. Something to consider.
Yeah, and capacity to recover.
Right. Yeah.
That definitely becomes a bottleneck, like you talked about. Like everything, and we did during the series as well, that recovery becomes the bottleneck.
Yeah.
I think everybody is able to, some period of time, stress their body. And most of the time you can stress your body. Like the classic example to me is running a marathon. Everybody, it's really popular to go run a marathon, and people can pull that off, and then they get, they feel wrecked for a week or two after that.
Yeah, it's a big event.
So the limiting factor for progress eventually, I think for pretty much everybody, becomes recovery if you're consistent about showing up and doing the work. And to me, like we said, the trade-offs become the decision. That's why starting with defining what you want was the first episode.
Yeah.
Because you get to a point where that becomes the real decision. It's not optimizing your program. It's not optimizing how much conditioning you're doing. It's making a conscious choice about which thing you want to prioritize over the other that you can cumulatively recover from and make progress.
So Ben, if you're enjoying it, keep enjoying it. You do have some room to dial back on your conditioning, and you can still get what you need for longevity, in my opinion.
For sure.
But if you're having fun with it, keep having fun.
And if you want to prioritize strength gains for a little bit longer, then try pulling back on the conditioning and see if you feel any different.
Yeah, keep a HIIT in once a week and get steps in. Like keep the conditioning very low intensity. Yeah. All right, what we got next?
Well, what's another common question that you feel like you answer frequently?
I want to lose weight. How do I do that without sacrificing all of my strength? And how should I do it?
What do you tell people for that one?
Listen to Beast Overburden Nutrition Series. Just kidding.
Yeah, I feel like we did. It's always interesting getting the Q&A for the thing that you just spent 2 months answering. You get a Q for something you spent 2 months giving an A. or at least you think you did, but
Yeah.
it did not apparently.
It's different when it's exactly you. But
Yeah,
you got to stabilize and then you have to reduce or
Mm.
stabilize, monitor, adjust. I'll put it down into those 3 steps. So stabilize means start eating the same amount of calories as close as you can.
Okay.
So that you have consistent input calories. Even by doing that, you might even go into a deficit. Do that for 2 weeks, see what happens. If you're losing weight, keep doing it. If you're not losing weight, knock off 5% of calories. See what happens in another 2 weeks. Now you can adjust that reduction to be more extreme if you want to lose weight faster. Except if you're going into this without a lot of extra body weight and you start trying to lose pound a week, 2 pounds a week, you are going to feel it in the gym probably 3 weeks into your deficit, maybe sooner. But the more extreme the rate of weight loss, the more difficult it is to hold on to your muscle.
Yeah, the important caveat that I heard in the original question was, how do I lose weight and hold on to as much muscle mass as possible? The pieces that I would emphasize are make sure that you are getting significant amount of your calories from protein.
Yep.
Or I should say, more importantly, that you're getting enough protein to support the muscle mass that you have, which we typically just, as an easy recommendation, there's a pretty big range, but call it a gram per pound
of body weight
as just a rough, easy target to remember. And actually going a little bit over that would, assuming it's lean protein, that's probably going to be better for losing weight and holding on to muscle mass. I think you could go up as much as even like 1.2 grams per pound, and then continue resistance training and manage your calories so that you are losing as slow of average weight loss per week as possible.
Yeah.
I think I've talked about this with a client of mine that did DEXA scans before and after different weight loss phases. One he did at 1 pound a week, and the other he did at a 1/4 pound a week. And he lost significantly more muscle mass with the 1 pound per week than he did the 1/4 pound per week. And that was his big takeaway from experimenting with that. And I think this is backed up more than just anecdotally, that the faster you lose the weight, the more your body's going to shed muscle mass.
Yeah. And I think that's a really hard pill to swallow when someone's like, I want to lose weight. And then you have to say, you're going to do it very slowly and you have to make a million decisions to get there. And it's going to take a while.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about this as well. Step 1 is set the time horizon out further than you probably want.
Yeah.
I like to operate in 6 to 12 month windows. Not to say that you should be in a deficit for that entire time, but
yeah,
when you're planning your goal weight, if you're looking, 3 months would probably be the short end of what I would recommend targeting, depending on how much weight you want to lose. But again, I don't like to go much more than a pound a week, and most people are trying to lose more than 10 or 15 pounds usually, or often, at least for big guys that I'm working with, like myself. Losing 10 or 15 pounds is usually a common goal. And so you're talking 10 to 12 weeks, 10 to 15
Yep.
weeks, on the short end. And if you're going for a much bigger goal, maybe longer, but you're probably dealing with more women who are losing like 5 to 10 pounds. So maybe that is doable in a couple of months, 2-3 months.
Some of my dudes want to go down a pound a week. Yeah.
So keep your protein up, stabilize the calories, gradually reduce them.
And if you have carbohydrates in your diet, maybe you don't also decide to not eat carbohydrates. Because I don't think that's the right first lever to pull.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely popular. I have somebody who just went on the carnivore diet 100% a couple weeks ago. And he knows that I don't think that's a great strategy. And I also, wish him well and want to hear how it goes for him. And, everybody, I think I have a client or two that decides, it's like once a quarter, you get somebody who decides they need to do something radical like that.
Yeah.
I usually call the shot. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to feel good, maybe even better for a couple of weeks. You're going to lose a little bit of weight, and then you're going to probably crash at about 3 or 4 weeks in. You're going to feel terrible, and you're not going to want to do it because it's also just
sucks to live that way.
What starts out as being a nice, like a break from making a lot of decisions, turns into this burden of like, all I can eat is meat, and I don't get to eat all these other things that I like. And they usually come back around. Yeah, or the other classic one that I have seen recently is, again, on the optimal side of things, they want to do all the things.
Yes.
So they read a book or they hear a podcast and they're like,
I'm doing all the zone 2. I'm looking at the sun. I'm taking an ice plunge.
and their workout routine, they want a 90-minute workout that does all the compound lifts, all of the accessories. They're going to train 4 days a week, and they're going to go on a big caloric deficit. And they just, it works for a week or two. They feel good. They do see progress, and then it's just, becomes unsustainable and they crash.
So theme here that I think is really interesting is that we both notice that things go well for like 2 weeks. And then it's the 3rd week where it's the reckoning. And I think what we have learned to do as coaches is prepare for that to not happen. Like, I want you to feel good 3 weeks from now.
Right.
That's always how I treat someone after a meet, is if we go really hard, which is usually what they want to do because they have to prove themselves from what didn't go well during the meet, or they're just really fired up to do volume again, they'll go too hard and they'll feel like crap in week 3. And I think that's our responsibility as a coach. Is like, okay, well, let's keep you successful in week 3 and then week 4, like always looking that amount of time ahead.
Yeah, I like that. Definitely something I keep in mind. Some clients, although I would say it's becoming less often that I need to nudge a client to do more.
Yeah.
I feel my job is more often trying to talk people off the ledge of doing more than they need to.
Totally.
I guess that goes back to the original question as well. It's just like, if you like doing it, great. Don't feel like you have to do that much work to get the vast majority of the benefits. If we're trying to go with the biggest ROI on your time, which most people want to do, I think that's more often my job is, and I find myself having more questions or answering more questions like, do I need to be doing more, with, no, you're good to go. Like, you're making great progress. You're adding weight to the bar. You're losing body fat. You're building muscle. Let's just keep doing it.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting shift in perspective, because I think a lot of people with fitness and nutrition, I don't know whether it's just because it's what the popular marketing style is, but it seems like people want or are often looking for a thing to do for 8 weeks or 6 weeks or some fixed known period of time, versus building habits of training.
Yeah.
And having their body be the accumulation of habits rather than it being this target that I'm going to go get to. It's more of an outcome that reflects your habits. I think your body is an outcome of reflecting your habits. Sort of like your bank account is a reflection of your financial habits. Your body and your physical freedom is a reflection of your physical habits.
Cue John Mayer song, Your Body is a Wonderland. All right. Let's do a third one. Do you have a question that you get all the time?
Man, probably do. But I mean, the one that I probably have the most common is, I missed a rep, or today sucked. What am I doing wrong? Like, why is this happening?
The spiraling. Oh, it's hard. Yeah, that's a hard one.
It's kind of the other end of that coin, or the other side of that coin of, am I doing enough? It's more of like, why isn't it happening? Why did it happen today? Or am I doing something wrong because I had one bad rep or one bad session? And 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, it's something happening outside of the gym that changed the circumstances going into the workout. And it was a one-off, I would say, barring some fluke thing that happened in the workout. Somebody, might lose their focus or get interrupted or stub their toe on a weight or something like that. But
yeah,
the vast majority of the time, it's not something they're doing wrong. It's just not taken into account that it's typically somebody who's been training in that kind of 6 to 18 month window where we've spent enough time training that they're much closer to their genetic potential. They're training much closer to their genetic potential. They're over the initial newbie gains, and they're more sensitive to day-to-day stressors because it's enough weight on the bar that if they have a bad night of sleep or change jobs or get in a fight with their spouse, then
put furniture together all weekend.
Put furniture together all weekend. Yeah, then they'll notice it.
Yeah.
Whereas before, they were so far away from their genetic potential, they didn't notice it. You could still cruise through a workout because you're not actually pushed yourself that far to the limit. And so most of the time, repeat the workout next week and they fly through it.
Yeah.
Assuming whatever that external stressor was goes away. So yeah, most of the time the question is, am I all screwed up? Why do I suck? It's like, no, man, be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Because I'll ask them a question and be, oh yeah, well, I just started a new job today. I'm like, oh, yeah. Could that possibly be a factor here?
I just gave up carbs today. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't eat breakfast or lunch and I just went in to train. Felt a little lightheaded.
Yeah. And when you train forever, you're going to have a log of missed reps. Like there will be many reps in your logbook that say 0, and it's just going to happen. When it's happening a lot, then yeah, maybe there's something going on with your programming where your programming isn't truly meeting you where you're at, or you're not doing what you want to do the program that you said that you wanted to do. So, but it's going to happen. You're going to miss some reps.
Again, in that 6 to 18 month range window where you're often hitting PRs still fairly regularly. I've got one guy who's frequently posting like, oh man, just didn't have it in me today. Cause maybe I'll program a set of 4 or set of 5 and he got sets of 3 and it's an intensity day. Like we're pushing the weight up on this one. And this is a thank goodness for turnkey coach. I mean, yes, I'm a little bit biased here, but if I didn't get the notification at the top of the workout that was a 3x3 PR, and I could could tell him, bro, yeah, you didn't hit the prescribed set and rep, but it was still a 3x3 PR.
Still PR'd all over the place. Yeah.
I would call that a good workout. Yes, we were progressing in a way where in bar speed looked great last week. We did 3x5 and that was a PR. And so we tried to go for another 3x5 PR, didn't get it, but you still shot for the moon, landed on the roof. That's a good day.
That'll do. Yeah.
So that one I find to be kind of an interesting mental exercise to work through where you didn't hit what you expected, but you still you did your best ever.
Pretty dang good still.
So anyways, the points there being most of the time, again, because we want to be training for the rest of our lives, don't worry about the individual session. Focus on doing the best you can in that moment, what you can control, let go of the outcome, focus on the behavior, the habit, and the pattern, and the outcome will be what it is.
Yeah. Should we wrap it there?
I think we're done.
Okay. Thanks for your cues. Our poor clients, we just talk about them all the time. Thank you, clients. We hope you enjoyed this series. We're excited to get another one started. Actually, pretty excited. We're going to talk about lifting weights.
Dun, dun, dun.
What are we going to do today, Pinky? Same thing we do every day. Lift weights. No, we got something fun coming up for you. So thank you so much for listening.
Pinky in the game.
Yeah, Pinky in the gains.
Hey.
That's pretty good. Thank you, Andrew Jackson. You have officially coined that brand, Pinky in the Game.
It'll just be, instead of a skinny mouse or a giant head, it'll be like just jacked.
Yes.
Jack the Rat.
If you got anything out of this, we'd love a review. We'd love a share. If you have any questions, email us at podcast@barbell-logic.com. And we'll be back with you next week. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Andrew.
Bye-bye.